This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Celebrate the return of football with the Minnesota Vikings at training camp. The fun will kick off on Saturday, July 26th. They call it Back Together Saturday. You can get your tickets today at vikings.com/camp.
It's interesting regarding the pretty visceral reaction to the late night news that broke yesterday. And we're probably all prisoners of this to a point where maybe politics drives whatever reason you think is the real reason that the program was canceled and that the franchise is now canceled. Part of it might well be that in general, viewing habits continue to change, viewer habits, and that there's just not as many people in general, I believe, watching late night period. And I think, so again, the truth is probably somewhere in into the category of a combination of things that enter into it. I've been on the record regarding his show for years. This is, and I didn't lose any sleep over whether he was on or not. I'd have been fine if he'd been on another 20 years. It's a free country. It's what makes America great. Oh, wait.
Be careful.
I can't say that.
Yeah.
God, my fault.
Wait, I needed to have a more pregnant pause there.
Yeah, I didn't
before I responded.
Well, I didn't give you much of a chance.
I needed to make it more awkward.
Yeah, that's probably true. But we got a lot of texts after our conversation, or as we were chatting about this with a former late night guy, Craig Kilborn. And this came in from Kevin. You and Craigers are analyzing this as if the Trump administration is simply the continuation of status quo politics that has existed indefinitely. Whether you're MAGA or vehemently against him, it's undeniable he's flooded the news cycle with headline-grabbing jokes, tweets, statements, actions, etc. that transcend the normal political barriers. If you want less political late night, shows like Fallon and Conan before you retire were generally harmless entertainment. Fact is, you're going to lose as a late night host. You either ignore the circus that is occurring nearly daily and alienate people that don't want fence sitters, or follow every action of the absurd and get touted as uber partisan. The connection between the 60 Minutes payoff to Trump, which I've savaged on this show many times. I thought it was an extremely bad look, even though it was a business. I mean, it was basically a business bribe is what it was. The Paramount merger, Colbert's criticism of said event, and his quick dismissal despite gaining viewers lately is undeniable. Whether you like or loathe Colbert, this type of silencing of satire and criticism I got cut off there at that point. For me, the issue isn't whether you go to the well, and even you go to the well more often because you believe the political times require it. It's you become such a prisoner of that theme that you're relatively incapable of challenging your own party's orthodoxy. The possibility that they might not be, regardless of Trump, that they might not be right on anything or everything, even in the way they try to deal with them. And I like the way this ex guy I was quoting from earlier with Kilborn put it. Rather than being a liberal with a sense of ironic distance like Maher or Jon Stewart, he allowed slavish partisanship to kill the humor at the heart of what used to be a Letterman show anyone could watch. And he points to, I think, this is to me the most vivid example of what we're talking about. You remember the 2021 interview with Stewart on the origin of the virus, of the coronavirus?
Yes.
And Stewart, again, showing his ability to challenge the sort of orthodoxy that became that show over the years, where there is no questioning it ever, even satirically. He went off on Colbert, and Colbert didn't know what to do. He was disarmed. He was flummoxed. He was frustrated. And I'm not saying from that point forward everything changed for him, but it's an example of what we're talking about. I don't think anybody would confuse Jon Stewart for a hardcore righty, right?
Right.
But it's an example of what I'm talking about. If, for me, again, if Colbert had been able to take that role or even consider that possibility on a story like that once a week on a show that otherwise tended to be, we're all about hammering Trump, once a week, I think I would have been more willing to pay attention to it. But it just didn't happen. And when it was kind of brought in front of him by, again, a bona fide, part of the reason that played so well, again, I think, if you are a lefty or a lefty willing to actually challenge the orthodoxy of your party, was that that's who's doing it. In this case, it's Jon Stewart, whose bona fides had already been established. For me, beyond that, I just never thought he was as funny as other people did. I thought he was in the perfect role on Comedy Central. I never bought him as a lead character. I just didn't. I don't know how much you watched. I don't know what you think.
Not a ton.
I just didn't, it didn't. Look at, the 50-50 issue, if we're being honest about it, is brought up about this show all the time. It's, why do you risk, if you on a given day are ripping Trump as often as we do, why do you want to risk alienating 50%? And it's a fair question because it's hard to calibrate this stuff. On the other hand, you say, well, we feel like that's part of our mission. I like to believe, and I know the righties won't agree, that we push back on guys like who we're talking about now, and on the Democratic Party at the border, and Biden on a number of fronts, that we tried to, whenever it was necessary, to push back on the other party. But late night, it's an interesting animal. So you're debating the question of, well, is that what people want? Do they want to be lectured late at night? Or is it, well, it doesn't matter because this is DEFCON 1. This is a different kind of politics. So therefore, all the old rules, to think that you can do Johnny Carson in 2025 is ludicrous because of, and even over the course of the first administration. It's all very interesting stuff. Bonus Bucks, is today off, or do we have one?
We have one.
Good.
We were a little late with the Krager's hour.
I apologize.
That was my fault. No, because I should have done it when we came back at 3:30. I forgot, but we're going to make it right. We're not going to let the last hour beat us this time. The Fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks, and the 4 o'clock keyword is credit. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword credit.
The Fan.
Mall of America's mystery cards are back, and we are bringing them to you all summer long. Come get them at KFAN events throughout summer. Wherever you see our KFAN street team, then make sure to redeem them at Mall of America for fun prizes and big discounts. Full list of events at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
A verdict in the State Senator Nicole Mitchell trial is in. She has been found guilty of burglary and possession of burglary tools. These are, this is a felony conviction. Tim Blotz, Fox 9 friend of ours, reminds us that Senate Majority Leader Aaron Murphy, in reacting to the guilty verdict, says Senator Mitchell has told colleagues that she intended to resign if found guilty of this crime, and I expect her to follow through on that pledge, right? And that's a very key vote. That's why a lot of people have been following this. Beyond the story itself, the troubling nature of the allegations and background of the story, it was the political implications of the possibility that that seat might end up being open. So no confirmation on what Senator Mitchell intends to do, but an interesting quote from the Majority Leader, Aaron Murphy, on that point. So stay tuned on that. If we get more details on it, we will indeed let you know. Let me get to a couple of other texts. By the way, did you watch or watch back the monologue?
No, just a few jokes.
Okay.
I didn't watch the entire thing, just a couple of them.
And we talked about this a little bit yesterday. I'm not surprised that Sarah Spain is unhappy because Sarah Spain tends to think in terms of I don't think she has much of a sense of humor on the subject when she's thinking about, well, this is a year in which women's sports grew exponentially, which can be true, but doesn't mean that there can't be off-color jokes at this event. But for her, I just don't think that's the way her mind works. So I'm not surprised. I mentioned Miami guy.
Dan Le Batard.
What
did he say? I missed his reaction.
Let me see if I can find the story. There was an interesting back and forth between him and one of his associates. He says, well, what's interesting is apparently he originally, before earlier this month, had mused whether Shane Gillis, that's who we're talking about, who's the MC of the ESPYs, would be willing to criticize the athletes in attendance at all. So at the beginning, it was almost like, well, he's going to be too soft. Well, now it's almost like he's saying he wasn't soft enough, or he didn't think the jokes hit enough to where he's excited by them. The part we can agree on, I hope, he said, Karl Anthony Towns, hey, girl, what's clever about that? How does that make gay people feel? How does that make Karl Anthony Towns feel? What's clever about that? I was not offended by that joke. I don't know if it's a great joke.
Right.
But it's playing off of, something that's cat's lingo to a certain degree, correct? And I don't know if the mocking had to do with how high his voice gets. I don't know. But that's where it started. And to the what's clever about that, his co-host producer, Ryan Ruiz, said, the point is the audacity. And Le Batard said, no, the point is just to stand on the edge. Be provocative to just provoke. Now, again, I'd say respectfully, is that something that ordinarily offends the Dan Le Batards of the world? In fact, I thought there was to a certain extent of, part of what we do is to provoke, to get people going.
Yep.
We could have a conviction, hopefully have some conviction in it, but that doesn't surprise me. Ruiz continued to push back, pointing out that that's largely the point of stand-up comedy. He also noted that plenty of people accuse podcast hosts, including their own show, of doing the exact same thing in an effort to attract attention and generate publicity. The Le Batard response, I am talking about the thing that was in sports last night at an awards show dressed up as art on the slowest day of the year, presented to us by Disney as a celebration in the middle of summer through comedy, arts, and entertainment and celebration. That sounds so much more stilted than I think of Le Batard. To me, that's ordinarily Le Batard would be mocking that position in my own mind of what he tends to do. It's like, oh, get off your high horse. What are you talking about celebrating? They're playing around. It's just it's a couple of jokes. Some of them hit.
Right.
And some of them didn't.
I agree with a lot of what his producer said.
I do too.
Just about when you hire comedians specifically, and really just in general, like you want people to push, you want people to be on the edge. It's not always going to hit.
No,
that's just reality. It's not always going to hit every single time, but that's not the point. The point is being fearless enough to do it and go out there and try, because sometimes it really does. Like, this is the same guy that on the set of College Game Day throughout the whole playoffs with Nick Saban sitting there is looking right at him and go, well, it's a lot different now that everybody can pay people, not just the SEC. Like, you got to have a certain fearlessness to do that.
You do.
And that hit. That was funny.
It was funny.
And Saban didn't like it, which was funny.
That's what made it funny.
Exactly right. Yeah. So you got to take the good with the bad sometimes. Now, obviously, if I didn't like the thing that Craigers was talking about when he was it was basically something about ugly wives and being fat and overweight. Like, that's cruel. That's just not necessary. Like,
well, it goes back to what I've said all along. Just because you can go quote unquote that far.
Right.
Just because you can use the F word, whatever, it still doesn't mean you have to.
Correct.
You can. It's not even censoring yourself. It's just editing yourself effectively, right? The producer you mentioned, who I think did a good job of arguing the point, because in responding to the Levitard comment about, celebration in the middle of the summer through comedy, arts, and entertainment, Ruiz says, I don't think anyone thinks of the ESPYs that way, adding that the award show, like most award shows, is merely a revenue generator for the company. And that's what I would say
in the week when there's nothing going on.
Yeah, that's what I'd say to Sarah Spain, too, is there's plenty of presentations and shows and podcasts that I think provide exactly what she thinks a given sport is owed, right? But that doesn't necessarily apply, or it doesn't. I don't think the people who put together the ESPYs have to feel obligated to go down that particular road, especially when part of what I think makes some award shows most effective is when there is a decent amount of pushing back and tweaking that's going on to sort of bring it all down off the high horse so that not everybody is taking themselves all that seriously as well. You can joke just about anything, no matter how inappropriate, writes Chris, as long as it's funny. Gillis is not funny, so it falls flat with me. That's a defensible position. He's not my favorite by any means, but as we said yesterday, and I don't think ESPN is like after the fact turning on him and saying how dare he, but we all know the answer is that you hire, as we talked about with Kilborn, you hire somebody like that, you can't be surprised that they do what they do.
Correct.
Right? Yeah, you put Gervais on the Golden Globes, which is to me still the ultimate. It's the best. I thought the best intro speech to any award show in history. I mentioned yesterday, occasionally, like twice a month, for no apparent reason, I will find it on YouTube and rewatch the whole thing. Not the shortened version.
We're both sickos, because I'm kind of like that too. Yeah, I like watching him talk about the reaction to it.
Yes.
And I use the line all the time when he says, I wasn't in a room of wounded soldiers. That's just the greatest way to describe it ever.
Yeah.
I'm in a room with a bunch of Hollywood idiots.
Yes.
They weren't wounded soldiers.
Yeah.
Like, that's so good.
Yeah. I mean, the other one that came up that I didn't mention yesterday was the comedian on the Brady roast.
Kevin Hart?
No. The female comedian.
Nikki Glaser. Yes.
And that was as ruthless,
ridiculous
as you could possibly get.
And that took her career to a ridiculous level.
It has, yeah.
Like, she was known. Now she's known.
Yeah.
Selling out everywhere.
Exactly it. Bottom of the hour pause. I have we got news in the March. We've got Lavelle in about an hour. We have, for me at least, a tantalizing tennis controversy that we need to discuss with you. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
You might.
I might.
It might not take much, but whether you love tennis or not, I think most of our audience will find it pretty juicy. We will come back with that next during the fan.
Head over to our contest page. It's your chance at a family 4-pack of early screening passes for the newest Marvel film, The Fantastic Four: First Steps, in theaters July 23rd. KFAN.com, keyword contest to enter.
A reminder that indeed a verdict is in the Senator Nicole Mitchell felony trial involving basically on both counts. And she has been found guilty. And beyond that being obviously the headline, there's the possibility that it could change everything politically at the State House. Remember that in the Minnesota Senate, Nicole Mitchell's party controls the Senate by a single vote. She apparently has told people previously that if she were found guilty, she would resign, and that would open the door to that particular spot. And, there are a lot of Republicans who said she should have already. Democrats, I think a number of them are on record, DFLers are saying, let's let the process play out. And if the process plays out, then it's up to her, and maybe I would even call for her resignation. apparently she has said previously that she would resign. So that's going to be the key question moving forward. What does she acknowledge? Or does she say, no, we want to go through, we have a right to appeal, and we're going to do that. We're going to exercise our right, and therefore I have nothing to resign over until the appeals process is played out. Now, a colleague is quoted as already having said that Mitchell has said if she was found guilty, forget any, appeal, that she would resign. So moving forward, that will be a significant part of this story. So stay tuned if we get more on it. I mentioned Lavelle will join at 5:30, Top 5 at 5 at the usual time. So I'm torn on this story because I'm not sure I understand the pecking order in the world of tennis enough to know how outraged people should have a right to be. Here's your headline. The International Tennis Hall of Fame has rejected a $10 million gift from hedge fund billionaire Bill Ackman after his widely criticized entry in its ATP Challenger event. That's according to Front Office Sports. Ackman, longtime tennis fan, he's become very political, competed in something called the Hall of Fame Open in Rhode Island last week as a doubles team with former top 10 player Jack Sock, losing to Omar, is it Jessica? And Bernard Tomic, 6175.
Wow, Tomic, yeah.
The Challenger Tour, and this is where I need your help. The Challenger Tour is the tier below the ATP Tour, but still considered an actual professional tournament. Ackman received a wildcard entry after a history of philanthropy with the Hall of Fame. And according to this story, played like, a 59-year-old tennis enthusiast with no professional experience thrown into a group of professionals. Here's the quote from your guy, Andy Roddick, the former number one player in the world, speaking on something called his Quick Served podcast.
Yes.
Roddick called the match, quote, a total miss, pathetic, hard to watch, and the biggest joke I've watched in professional tennis, unquote. He doesn't apparently blame Ackman for his decision to play. He puts the onus on the Hall for allowing him to play. He actually praises the billionaire's effort, but said he believed the decisions behind the match should warrant a review. Quote, there was exactly one person on that court trying as hard as they could. If you want to argue with me, go back and watch that video. You can't tell me there was more than one person trying as hard as they could every point or any point. It was a disaster. This was beneath the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. So I would tend to agree with him, but what I'm trying to figure out is, is this a real tournament? I mean, is the Challenger Tour is it worth getting on our high horse over something called the Challenger Tour?
I think it is, because you've got people that are out there trying to get enough points where they can play on the regular tour. That's the point of the Challenger Tour. It's essentially AAA baseball.
Okay.
And so you've got people that are either on their way up, trying to earn enough points to play on the real tour, or in some cases are on their way down and trying to get enough points to get back into where they're going. So, and just the idea that somebody rich can just show up after giving millions of dollars. And I think some of the donations the Hall of Fame has actually refused here within the last week or so. Said, we're not going to take your money.
Well, no, that's the headline. Yeah, they were refusing the entire $10 million gift. Yeah.
Which is the right call, because I did watch the video. I was curious about it because it was going on during Wimbledon, and a couple of people in the tennis world were tweeting about it. He was trying to be basically the second oldest person to ever get some type of ranking point on the ATP Tour on the doubles side of it. I don't like it. Now, the counter argument is wild cards are there for a reason. Wild cards or sponsors exemptions in the 3M Open that's coming here next week for Blaine.
Well, you tell me, is there any kind of precedent for somebody who's kind of a fringe player, but has played a little bit and then has written such a big check that they go, what the hell? It's an open thing. We're going to do it.
I don't think so. I think this is pretty rare. I don't remember it because the wild cards are usually reserved for like up-and-coming players or, again, players that have been injured for a couple of years, or like Andre Agassi famously went and played a couple of challengers in like 95, 96, probably 97, 98 when his ranking had fallen all the way down to 200. And it's kind of a place where you can rebuild your point bank so you can get up back into the big tournaments. In terms of just, we're going to auction off a spot, essentially, I don't know if it's ever happened. I'm sure it's probably happened somewhere that I'm forgetting, but it's extremely rare. These are supposed to be for people that are legitimate players one way or the other.
3 days after the match, Ackman posted a lengthy tweet in which he defended the Hall of Fame, criticized his own play, and pledged to set up a $10 million endowment he would manage, giving the Hall 10% of the principal each year. He also called the match an overall success, describing it as, quote, one of the greatest public relations achievements in tennis history.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
For the Hall, partially due to his failure on the court, and he challenged Roddick to a doubles match. He said the criticism the Hall received was entirely on him, but he also tried to explain why he played so badly. He read this quote. What has not been disclosed is that I played a doubles tournament 10 days prior at the Hall of Fame, and I played great. Field was comprised of former pros and top college players from the round of the world, but 55 plus in age. Richie Renneberg and I lost in the semis to the ultimate winners of the tournament in the tiebreaker. Where things went wrong is that I hadn't been beta tested in a professional tournament, and my nerves got to me.
Oh, my gosh.
Jack also chose the ad side, and I've been playing the ad side for the past year.
This is too much already from this guy.
There's no question.
It's too much already.
As a guy who's pretty much insinuated himself into everything and loves the attention, there's no question. I was also serving... How many there's like 4 sliding Pell scales in this quote.
Yeah.
I was also serving into the 1:30 p.m. sun with a shot clock. A new experience for me. And to make matters worse, the other side held back, making the whole thing look like a farce. What does he mean the other side held back?
They weren't playing hard.
Oh, I see.
So it was more... In the tennis community, they would call it a hit and giggle match.
I see. Okay.
That's what the tennis community would hit. Richie Renneberg, by the way, local angle, married a woman from Woodbury.
Really?
Used to be up here a lot. Would be just down the road at Edina Country Club.
Goodness.
During the season, he'd hit with David Wheaton from time to time. Richie Renneberg. I haven't heard that name for a while.
Remarkable.
So Renneberg, it sounds like, carried him to the semis.
That's what it sounds like.
Because, by the way, Renneberg, if I played great, Richie Renneberg's like a former #1 doubles player in the world, as well as like top 20 singles player. Like that guy was a legit pro, 15, 20 years ago. I'm guessing he had a lot to do with, I didn't see the matches. I didn't watch the live stream, but I'm guessing he had a lot to do with that mythic run to the semifinals. And I'll just say this, if you're having trouble with the 1:30 sun, then you've never really played tennis ever. That's like every tennis player ever's had to deal with the sun on your serve, and you figure it out.
I would also, like I said, that he should have quit while he was ahead.
Yeah, that was just too much.
That. No one was asking for any extra explanation.
We didn't need the analysis.
We don't get, like I said, that many excuses from a major league pitcher like if named Mike Pelfrey after a game. It just went on. It was like multi-layered, right? So there you have it. So there seems to be. So is it fair to say that probably within the tennis community, then there's anger beyond just Roddick and
probably
and unhappiness?
Yeah, mostly. And again, wild cards are supposed. The purpose of them is to give somebody who wouldn't ordinarily have a chance just by ranking to get in. So it's not unprecedented to have somebody get one that doesn't do well, but that person's usually coming off an injury, or they're a younger player, a local player, maybe a local college player. You give those for a bunch of different reasons, but a 60-some-year-old billionaire, I don't think is the reason to do it, to get an extra donation, because there are people that are they are trying to build an actual career, which is very difficult to do.
Let's get to more. Here, I've got it in front of me. Actually, we'll get another breaking news sounder. It appears, here it is. President Trump has followed through with his threat to sue Dow Jones, News Corporation, Rupert Murdoch, and Wall Street Journal reporters for libel, court records show. He is saying that the Wall Street Journal story that dropped literally like the last 10 minutes of the show yesterday it's now been filed, that it is indeed official. The story described what Axios.com puts as a bawdy, BAWDY, happy birthday letter bearing Trump's name that the outlet says was given to Jeffrey Epstein. Trump says that the supposed letter was a fake, and if they print it, they will be sued. Mr. Murdoch stated that he would take care of it. That's from the president again. But he obviously did not have the wherewithal, indeed, to get that done. So now it seems as if he has followed through. Now, it's fair to say, I think, if you're Donald J. Trump, you start thinking you're bulletproof when it comes to lawsuits.
He's got a good record right now.
You either win them all or they get settled and you get another $50 million. I mean, it's like like I said, I thought the 60 Minutes folks, CBS, went belly up, curled up in the fetal position way too easily. Now, again, most people think that was directly related to that merger, that sale, and that it was quid pro quo or bribery, depending on how you want to look at it, that had a lot to do with it. The thing... I tried to read I think I've read most of the Wall Street Journal report. And, there's a couple of like sly comments about how we share a like for the same kind of thing. And then you could make the, young women, whatever the case may be. There's a lot of innuendo there for sure. None of it is a particularly, I guess you could say good look. But, I mentioned this on Enough Said, with the program that runs regular time on Fox 9 Plus tonight, 7:30 and 9:30 on Fox 9. Somebody via X said, at this point, the only way this gets worse for the president would be if audio emerges of him bantering with an acquaintance about how he routinely assaults women. Good line. Well played, sad but true. The moral sort of being, well, does this fall into more of the classification of, wait a minute, wait till this story comes out? Everything will change. I don't know that this story changes anything unless I've missed something, because I'm not sure this story establishes anything regarding legal culpability or, linking the president to what may or may not be that may or may not have been associated with this particular heinous enterprise, right? I'm not sure in the story that any of that gets, quite frankly, established.
It doesn't.
Now, allegedly yesterday he said, all right, I'm so sick of this, I'm going to have them release a bunch of the files. Well, it's really not all the files. I think it's certain Justice Department files.
It's grand jury testimony.
Grand jury testimony, that's right.
Yep.
So the only thing this does do is very obvious that the president wanted this story to go away. And that's why he said to his own people, his own constituents, stop this nonsense. I'm bored with you. I don't need you if this is what you're going to become obsessed with. And it's not going to go away now for sure. It's difficult for me to believe that the Wall Street Journal invented the letter. It's too professional a publication for me to think that this is a lie. And that's the Trump dilemma, is he had two ways to go with this. One was, we're happy for you. Did you see the secret audio that dropped about things I said? I can say whatever I want about women. Wouldn't be proud if you have to say that, but that could easily be his approach, knowing him, right? But the approach he's taking is, this is a lie. The letter is invented, correct? And that, to me, makes him a lot more vulnerable, unless the Wall Street Journal invented this thing, which, again, given the times we're in, the number of lawsuits that, like I said, Trump has been seemingly on the offensive on, that they're just going to drop this story without having pretty good evidence to suggest that the story, the letter, is accurate, and that they even have a copy of it. You know what I'm saying? I maybe I'll be surprised, but it's too good of an outlet from a reporting standpoint for me that they would take that chance. So to me, the danger Trump runs going this way, and I say this advisedly, is that he might actually be damaged a little bit if it's proven that he was lying, that the letter was an invention, that it doesn't exist. Regarding the language, I don't think it's like I said, it's deck chair Titanic.
Exactly.
I just don't think it's going to have any more impact given, like I said, what we already have on the record on him. Now, you could say, well, that previous quote from that trailer didn't say anything about the age of the women, and that's the key question here as it pertains to the files, the Epstein files, right? Underage women, et cetera. Mm-hmm. That would be, I guess, the distinction. But I just don't know that this is necessarily that he's running the risk that this is going to go someplace more than it would, because he's flat out denying. He's saying the letter is a lie, that it's an invention, that
he's
it does
doing
not
the
exist.
fake. It's a fake.
It's fake news. Yeah, exactly.
And the files themselves have been written by, Obama and Biden and Crooked Hillary.
Yeah, right.
He's playing a lot of hits with this one. He really is playing a lot of hits with this one.
Yeah.
But like you said, and I said it tonight on TV, let's just say they release all the files and he's in there in a bunch of different ways. What is that going to change? Because people have all been waiting for, well, this is the one that's going to stick. This thing it's going to stick, and nothing really ever does in any meaningful way.
Dan, we have to admit that the Wall Street Journal is very anti-Trump, not the news division. And by the way, Wall Street Journal editorial page, if you really read it, is capable of sometimes defending Trump positions. It does criticize him. There's no question. It doesn't. It's not. The Wall Street Journal is not a Trump lick spittle. There's no question about that. But the news side, I think, is...
They don't have TDS, though, either, like you say.
Well, that's true.
Wall Street Journal.
They don't. But the news operation, I think, is tough, but fair. I think they are... That's their approach no matter who is in power or whether on the news side, which is why I respect the publication on that side of the operation, leaving out the... editorial side. You could have your State Fair T-shirt say a slight pelf and have an act of it as the image. Not sure I understand what that means, but yeah, I don't know. We do have to work on that. Or do we want to try to go? Do we have the option of going ball cap or shirt, or is it that's determined for us depending on what we come up with?
I think we could do a hat if we wanted one. I'm wondering, do we just do a straight up bumper to bumper shirt? As opposed to the old phrase days. Well, we used to we got in these phrases like 8-10 years ago.
Well, that's got to be well designed. And that's where I'm terrible. I need help from the artistic amongst us.
But we have a lot of good artistic people.
We do.
And
that's
so
true.
I'm wondering if we do I'm kind of thinking like vintage and retro is in right now.
Yeah.
If we could come up with a vintage or retro bumper to bumper type script / graphic / something.
Yeah,
that looks
I would
cool.
consider that. It's not catchy though. People want catchy.
Well, the design would be catchy.
Yeah, that would have to be what carried it.
Yes, because people like the vintage and the old school.
Yeah,
now.
you're right. That's not.
We're in a throwback phase a little bit. So I was thinking about that this morning.
Could we do? How so? What do you mean?
Well, I was just thinking when we were. I was thinking about some ideas today because I know we're on a tight deadline.
The show started in 2002, I think. Right? We decided.
We believe.
So, do you want to do something like, 20, well, it's not a very catchy year. So like 23 years doesn't sound that catchy. You can't, it's not like an anniversary, like a big anniversary.
No,
like
it's not that. No. But where it just says the name of the show, like bumper to bumper with Dan Barrero. And it has but it just looks
I can't
cool.
rip it because I don't have very many better ideas. I kind of like Big Beautiful Bumper to Bumper. I think it kind of plays off of, the Big Beautiful Bill, although then... Does
50%
that mean
of the country doesn't want to buy it?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Are we alienating, in that case, the sharks who say you're mocking, when really you don't have to be mocking. You just like the saying, and you like borrowing it for the purposes of bringing it to the show. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
So, but you
can't explain that on the shirt.
No, you can't.
You can't unless like the tag has a disclaimer.
Yeah.
This is not an official political position. We just like playing off Big Beautiful Bill.
Well, you could put that in parentheses, I guess.
I guess you could.
You actually could.
Yeah.
You'd be
Big Beautiful Bumper to Bumper.
Yeah, in parentheses.
Not a political position.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it.
It's a possibility.
But I like that we're thinking now. The juices are flowing.
How about an invisible shirt with Epstein files on it? That's another way to do it. All right. We have Lavelle in about 35 minutes or so. Lavelle in 35 minutes. And let's again remind folks that Senator Nicole Mitchell found guilty on both. I think it's 2 felonies, right? At least, well, I don't know both. I think both charges are felonies.
I believe so.
And in the case against her, that include, a home invasion and robbery. And the larger question now is, does she resign? Which is apparently what she has told colleagues previously if she indeed was found guilty, because that could open up all sorts of things to the Senate with the 1-vote lead that her side of the aisle has at this point, right? That then it's dogs and cats living together. So that'll be a part of the story worth following as we move forward. And if we get any good dirt the last 90 minutes of the show, we'll certainly do that. The text line is open. Been a lot of good text coming in today. 64686 is the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. Do we play out off of something Dr. Dan related? We've never really done that.
No.
I don't know what it would be.
I know. Yeah, where do you go after Dr. Dan?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. How about a Sharks and Jets shirt? The problem is that what you say? I don't know. I don't even know what you do with it. I mean, we'll have to think about it, but we got to get to it soon because the State Fair is now right around the corner.
It is right around the corner.
Yeah. And everybody else has got like 9 shirt ideas and 8 hat ideas up on the board.
Is that all? I think it's more than that.
Probably.
Yeah. Which wall are you looking at?
That's just the Power Trip.
Power Trip has their own wall.
They do have their own wall.
They have their own wall that we're not even allowed to go over there.
They've earned it. There's no question about it. All right. Top 5.
We've got the British Open. The Twins are back in action. And could Royce White be the next NFL Players Association executive director? Some details coming out about the former guy.
You got to be kidding.